Joining us on the show is a UFC fighter in the middleweight division with a professional record of 13 wins and 4 losses. If that's not enough to impress you, he's also picked up a national championship in 2009 with the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know him, you love him. It's your boy, Eryk Anders. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Thank you for coming on. So you got a fight coming up here with Krzysztof Jotko on April 11th. Now, this fight's already been moved from Portland to Vegas. Now, it looks like it's kind of in limbo. Is there any updates you have on that so far?
Man, my guess is as good as y'all. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things where, it's going to be a mystery to me and the rest of the fighters where we're fighting until fight week,
Yeah.
They were supposed to have the Columbus card there at the Apex there in Vegas. I saw something that the Vegas Commission canceled all fights until the March 25th, conveniently 3 days before the UFC fight was supposed to happen down there in Vegas. So we'll see what they do, man. They said it's not going to happen in Vegas. They said it's not going to happen in Portland. So I think that Columbus card and all those guys that are fighting on there, like Chito Vera and Cody Stamann, they're kind of going to be the the test rats to see what they're gonna do, because I don't think it's like I think that the world is trying to slow down the spread of the coronavirus. I don't think there's anything that you can actually do to prevent from getting it, but they're trying to slow down the spread, maybe to so the hospitals aren't overwhelmed and things like that. So I think it's a good idea to, take necessary precautions, but understand I'm ready to fight April 11th, regardless of what is out there. I'm a young guy. It's just a flu. So, if I catch it on the April 12th, I'm cool with this, whatever. I want to get paid though.
So this really hasn't affected your training camp too much then, by the sounds of it. You're still going for it.
Not too much. I was out in California when it kind of started again. People started hitting around, and then I just got back from Vegas when I guess that's when stuff kind of really hit the fan, and people started panicking. All the water and toilet paper ran out at Walmart and whatnot. So I'm kind of a holding pattern as well. Training goes on as usual. Weight cutting, I think it'll be a little bit easier this time. There's not a lot of stuff on the shelves here in Alabama, so it's we're gonna make it happen, man.
Sure. Now, the sports world is really shutting down. You have all these leagues kind of stopping play, and the UFC is still trying to keep the lights on. Do you see this as an opportunity to kind of show off the sport to new fans?
Absolutely. I think that people, when they hear MMA and when I'm walking down the street and people are like, oh, yeah, you fight UFC. I don't know how you do that. There's so much blood and blah, 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 violence. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of what I signed up for. I signed up for the violence. I signed up to, make somebody else bleed. I don't enjoy the bleeding part so much myself. So I think it's better to give than to receive. So, from April 11th, whoever the guy is, I believe that Krzysztof Jotko will show up. But, I see the UFC, they're talking about, signing new fighters and making the cards happen and filling it up as much as possible. So should something happen to him, I think that the UFC will have somebody for me to fight.
Sure. Now, assuming that it is Krzysztof Jotko that you fight, how do you feel about that matchup?
I love the matchup, and I got even more excited for it when I thought it was going to be at the Apex because, it is a smaller cage. Jotko likes to move around, and he kind of needs space to be effective. So I thought the smaller cage would help me, would benefit me more than him. But it doesn't matter. Cage, boxing ring, 34 feet, 28 feet, whatever the dimensions are. It's whatever, man. They can make us fight in a bouncy house for all I care.
Love it.
Now, it was interesting watching the card last night with no fans. How do you think the experience fighting without fans in attendance is going to be like?
Man, I think it'll be much more intimate.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the coaches. And it's not like the coaches are ever an issue, anyways. And if you've ever fought on the early prelims, it's not much different than that. There's not very many people in the arena at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5:30 at night. So I've never done it, but I've watched the other fighters do that, and so observing it, not doing it firsthand, but observing it, I think kind of gives you like a mental rep. But for me, I don't hear none of that stuff anyways.
Mm-hmm.
When I do get this knockout victory, it's going to be a little it's funny because, like I said, as soon as you knock somebody out, as soon as somebody taps, the crowd erupts with cheer and applause and whatnot. So I truly do feel like I'm gonna knock him out, and you're gonna be able to hear his body hit the mat, and that's gonna be it. I think the Gilbert Durinho's victory last night, would be about as close to mine as you can get. He knocked him out. He finished and the ref stopped, and he's like literally the only guy who screamed out in the arena last night.
Yeah.
And you could hear him very vividly. So I would imagine I get pretty excited whenever I finish fights. So I would imagine it'd be something like that.
Yeah. Now you do have some highlight reel knockouts on your record. One of my favorite knockouts from you is the Tim Williams fight, where under 30 seconds left, and he comes up off the canvas and you just connect with him. Can you walk us through that knockout too?
Yeah, there were several times in the fight where he was getting up off his back with me standing up, and he would kind of kick at my legs and kick at my body to make me back up or to create space for him to get up. For whatever reason, he didn't do that this time. Short time, maybe he felt like he was down. Maybe he felt like he had to get back to his feet to, get a knockdown of his, get a knockdown of his own. So he was a little bit rushed, and he didn't kick at me, and I was like literally standing right over him as he was getting up. So, I just took that step like those kickers do when they're kicking a field goal, and lined it up, and boom.
Now, what's that feeling like when you put somebody's lights out in front of a packed arena? What is that feeling like?
That fight, it was a little more satisfying just because the fight was close. I thought that I was winning, but after going back and reading stuff on the internet and just hearing opinions of other people, the fight was a lot closer. The third round was a question mark. I don't think so. I thought that he won the first. I was definitely winning the first, the second, and third. So, but to take the judges' opinion out of it, to take all the everything else out of it, and to finish, and on top of that, to pick up a performance bonus, man, yeah, there's not much like it.
That's cool. Now, it's interesting you talk about the judges scoring and everything there, and you've had some split decisions in your career. There's been talk of, I've seen Ariel Helwani ask fighters about the open scoring. Have you given any thought to that, and would you like something like that to be implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it benefits fighters like me because I'm not a point fighter. Every time I go in there, I try to end the fight. Not possible every time, and sometimes fighting like that is kind of detrimental to a victory. But I think especially fighting Machida and fighting Theodoro. Well, Machida especially because the Theodoro fight, it was obvious it was 1-1 going into the third, and he just did more and pulled it out. So good for him. But I thought that I was winning the Machida fight, and I was still trying to kill him. Not literally kill him, but I was still trying to get him up out of there. And when the judges read their cards, I think one judge said that he won 4 rounds. And it's cool, it's whatever. That's his opinion, but. Because even if Tony Weeks did see the Machida winning 4 rounds, it really doesn't matter that he said he won 4, 5, 3, or whatever. He thought that Machida won the fight. So that was my thinking about it. That was my rationale back then. So I still would have lost, I feel like. But if I'd have known that it was that close going into the 5th, I would have went out on my shield. It would have been me or him. It would have been me trying to knock him out, or him knocking me out. So, personally, I'd rather go out on my shield. It kind of sucks to lose a close decision. So, you know, but again, that's on me. You know, I think that when the fight ends, if you're not ready to collapse in exhaustion, then you didn't do enough, or it was just too easy. Like the matchup wasn't very good. So, you know, open scoring or not, you know, close fights like that, I blame myself. But, you know, maybe Machida sees that he's up in the last round and runs around and does even more, like, moving. But I also think if they do that to stop the running in the 3rd and 5th round, they should implement the yellow card and penalty thing that, like they did in Pride. Like a yellow card is a warning. If you get a red card, you lose. I don't think you should be disqualified like they did in Pride, but lose a point. You know, some kind of penalty for stalling, like wrestling, taking somebody down and just laying on top and not advancing your position or striking. That should be a penalty. And running and not engaging should also be a penalty.
Definitely make the fights more interesting. That's for sure.
Now, if you win this fight too coming up, you'll be on a 3-fight win streak. How important is it for you to get on this roll, especially coming off of a little bit of a skid there?
Man, you know, in terms of like fighting, fight to fight, I don't know if I necessarily believe in momentum. But you know, it can be a little discouraging to take a few losses in a row. And you can really start to smell yourself a little bit if you win a few fights in a row. So I just think it's important to stay grounded, stay humble. I think those 3 losses in a row were good for me because I can win the next 15 fights. I'm never going to forget about the 3 that I lost in a row. So I think that kind of keeps your feet glued, my feet anyways, glued to the ground because, you know, there's always that voice in your head like, hey, buddy, you know, this shit can go south for you real quick. So, it's going to keep me outworking opponents, keep me, you know, doing everything I got to do to be ready for the fight. So I don't know if it's like, if I like believe in momentum, like, oh, I won my last 3, I'm going to win my next, the 4th one. I don't necessarily believe that, but there is a little bit of confidence going into a fight on a streak that may not necessarily have any what do you call it? What's the word? Any bearing on like the outcome of the fight, but you know, confidence is key.
Sure.
Now, walk us through a day in the life for this kind of current training camp as you get ready for the fight against Jotko. What are you doing each day?
Each day, you know, I get up at about 6. I train from about 7 to 10:30. You know, that's like strength and conditioning and mitt work. We do an hour and a half of like MMA practice. You know, it may be, you know, fit-ins from a combination into a takedown or more wrestling, wall work. It really just depends on the day. Then I'll go do some recovery stuff like Pilates or yoga or like maintenance stuff, movement, mobility kind of stuff. Then hit some cryotherapy, some game ready, ice down, whatever bumps, bruises, or injuries that I may have. Get some sleep, eat lunch. By that time, the kids are coming home. So, you know, I hang out with them, do homework, play Fortnite for a little bit, and, you know, do it all over again. I'll train for another 3 or 4 hours in the evening time as well. Take the boys to jiu-jitsu or boxing practice, and while they're practicing, I train. The wife comes, picks up the kids, and, you know, I stay there and, you know, train and do what I need to do to win a fight. Run, cardio. I have to do a lot more running and cardio and stuff. And then by about 11 at night, my night's over with. I come home, eat dinner. The kids are already in bed. So during fight camp, I probably see them for like 2-3 hours a day. Especially if it's during school time. But they get it. They understand. It's a very selfish job that I have, but they enjoy all the benefits and stuff that comes with it as well. So it's like, all right, man, I gotta go train. Okay, Dad, we love you. Bye. And then we can, we make up for that time with, like trips and vacations and when I don't have a fight coming up, we like to eat, go out and watch movies and eat popcorn and do things like that. So, for the 8 weeks that I'm, hunkered down doing this, it kind of sucks for everybody, but I think they enjoy it when it's time to have fun.
That's really good that you have that support system. I would think too, the eating, you're fighting at middleweight here. You've also fought at light heavyweight before. How much different is your training camp having to cut that extra weight?
To be honest with you, man, I prefer to fight at middleweight because, like, when I was fighting at 205, whenever I left the gym, I was done. I could go home. I didn't have to think about fighting anymore. I didn't think about training. I didn't think about my opponent. I didn't think about anything. So I can go eat. I can enjoy. I still train just as hard, but not as much because those cardio sessions, take up some time. An hour or two each rep. So now I have more free time. The first time I fought at 205 that I had wasn't short notice was Roundtree. So I had a full camp. I was training, and after the fight, it's probably the worst fight I've ever fought in my life. And then after the fight, I was like, why? Outside, if you take away his skill set, because man, Khalil came out on fire that night. There probably weren't very many people on earth that was going to beat him on that particular night. But outside of the skill set, outside of that, why did that happen? And I also tried the less is more approach, like recover more, train less, but train smarter kind of thing. Not even like train smarter, but just a different kind of training routine. I didn't feel prepared. But the next time I fought at 205, I paid a lot more attention to my diet. I think if you look at my body composition from one fight to the next, and it wasn't even that much longer after that I fought the Vinicius, my body, I had less body fat, more muscles, more vascular. I paid attention to my diet, weighed in the same, showed up on fight night the same weight that I did the first one. It just, man, I felt prepared. I worked really hard. Obviously, like, I don't have to cut the weight, so I don't have to run a whole lot. Still have to run a little bit to make 205, like, contrary to prior belief. I don't walk around at 205 or 210 or anything like that. So I prefer middleweight because for 24 hours from the time the contract's on to the fight's over, the fight's on my mind. I'm thinking about the fight. I'm thinking about my opponent. And even when I'm not, and I'm like, damn, I'm hungry. Oh, wait, I can't because I have to fight so-and-so. And it's been my experience that if you do the weight cut slowly and over time, it sucks, man. But at the same time, it's going to suck a little bit, and it's going to suck a little bit right before you get on the scale. But if you just kind of fuck off and don't pay it any attention and kind of, it's going to be hard at the end, really, really hard. And that's what you hear when you hear about people who are passing out or, their kidneys are shutting down or they're doing this or they're doing that or the weight cut's not working as usually. And I don't know these people. I don't know all these weight cut stories, but this is what I hear, and this has been my experience. It's probably because you didn't start soon enough, and now you're trying to do like Dawn in 60 seconds and cut all your weight in 24 hours or overnight. When you should have done it over time, and it wouldn't have been as bad. So, to each their own. For me, I like to wait a little bit. I like to do it over time, and because when I was an amateur, I would try and cut like 30 pounds in a week, and I wonder why after 1 3-minute round, after doing all that training, I was exhausted, and I didn't get out of there. I had a fight on my hands. So since my wife has been in the picture, she's the one, you should eat more, eat smaller meals, do this, do that, eat carbs before, no carbs after, blah, blah, blah. She knows all that stuff. I don't. I just show up and eat what she tells me to eat when she tells me to eat it. And miraculously, weight comes off the weight cuts have been super easy at 85. So, you just gotta listen, I guess.
Fair enough.
So how early before a fight are you kind of go into that kind of weight cut mode?
Man, I try to get it down to like 8 pounds, less than 10 pounds the day before I get on the scale. So if weigh-ins are Friday night, Friday morning, they start at 9. I'll completely fast from Thursday at 9 a.m. until I get off the scale. And I really don't do much on Thursday. Like Thursday during the day, I'll try to get to that 10-pound mark. Hopefully, I like to do it like Wednesday night, and then Thursday I'll just hang out all day and not do much. I mean, I'll probably eat breakfast, go for a run in the morning, but after 9 o'clock, I completely fast, water, everything, and man, I'll get up at like 4, 3, 4 in the morning, Friday morning, and just sit in a tub, essentially, a tub or a sauna until that weight comes off. And I think doing it like that is the best for me because, when I'm at 185 pounds, man, I'm pretty depleted and, irritable, groggy. So I hear fighters doing it the night before and trying to sleep through the night and get up to get on the scale. But, man, you're not sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't care. If you're on weight and you cut any amount of weight, you're not going to sleep that night. So for me, I try to make it as comfortable as I can and then get up and hopefully I'll have some energy to, cut the weight, maybe drink a cup of coffee to kind of get the brain going, man, because you are a little lethargic, a little sleepy, a little tired. The caffeine is a diuretic, so whatever fluid you have in there, which ain't much, it helps get it out. Just little things like that, for me, have made a big difference.
For sure.
Now, coming off the scale, what's your go-to meal?
See, man, the weight cut's not over when you get off the scale, man. I've done this too. Eat like a bunch of like red meat and bread and carbs and this, that, and the third, and chug water and Gatorades and stuff. But for me, the weight cut's not over till after the fight because you can rehydrate improperly. Eat the wrong kind of stuff. You eat a bunch of like meat and stuff that's hard to digest when you haven't been eating much and you fasted for the past 24 hours. It takes even longer to digest, man. You sweat all night. So I really eat like chicken, rice, carrots, greens. Pretty much the stuff that I was eating before I got on the scale. Just so my body's used to it. And then I'll eat that stuff. Sweet potatoes is huge for me. Is a keystone. It's a cornerstone of my diet when I'm cutting weight, as well as when I get off the scale as well. But after the fight, man, something sweet, some ice cream, some pizza, a soda. Doesn't even matter what flavor, man. I don't even like Coke or Pepsi, but if that's all I got, I'll drink one. Gummy worms, candies, anything with sugar in it, really.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It really is a brutal sport when you take into all the considerations of the weight cut. Now, also, moving on here, you were pretty successful in your football career, winning the national championship, as we mentioned, at Alabama. What was that experience like, considering some of the players that you played with, like Mark Ingram, I believe Donta Hightower was on that team as well. What was that experience like?
For me, it was awesome because, I went from, I was the guy in my high school. I was the dude. And I think there were on my team that played my senior year, I think there were 3 Division I offers. I went to Bama, one guy went to Baylor, and then another guy, Andrew Sandejo, went to Rice, and he's still in the NFL now. But there's just not a whole lot of guys making it to the next level from my school. So I was the dude. And then I come to Bama and I'm playing on a team with guys that had 13 Division I offers on his team, So obviously, like the level of play went up, and I'm a competitive person, so I loved it, man. It's like, okay, these guys are all bigger, stronger, faster. I got to get my level of play up. But it was also like an experience that I can't put into words for anybody who wasn't there.
Yep.
Just the roller coaster of each season from season to season. I think the first season we went 10-3. The next season we went 6-6. Then I think we went 500 again, Saban's first year. Then we went 10-2 or 12-2, and then we went 14-0. So, to go from literally a shit season to SEC championship, losing the SEC championship, to making it back to the net and winning the national championship undefeated the next year. Man, I don't know. Maybe it's not because I'm like not articulate or smart enough. I'm not a poet or a writer or anything. But man, I just have never been able to find the words to encapsulate that experience. There are guys on that team that, I may not talk to for 3 or 4 or 5 years, but whenever we do get on the phone or whenever we do see each other face to face, it's just like we were 18, 19, 20 years ago again, man. Just giggles, laughing, it's fun.
Yeah.
So the relationships and the experience that I had during those times is, I think that everybody has their own story and probably has their own, kind of stories like that to tell. But to do it on a scale like that, it's hard to put into words.
Say goodbye to bad hair days once for all with On Point Pomade. Whether you're looking for a timeless shine with an all-day hold or a natural finish with an irresistible fresh cologne scent, On Point Pomade will take your hair to the next level. Use discount code BGT10 for 10% off your entire purchase at onpointpomade.com. Did you struggle moving, because football is the ultimate team sport, did you struggle in that transition to MMA, which is the ultimate individual sport, where you don't have support of your teammates there? Was that a difficult transition?
No, not at all. I prefer the individual aspect of it. MMA is cool because, man, you can't get better by yourself. Like, you're not going to win a world championship. You're not going to win a UFC belt just punching the bag or shooting shots on air or wrestling the dummy. Like, you need training partners. So, yes, like, there is a lot of camaraderie and the locker room aspect of football in MMA, but when it's game time, man, I'm telling you, there's nothing more frustrating than losing a game because somebody fumbled the ball or somebody threw an interception or somebody missed a tackle. Or, you just let down. Yeah. I think there's 125 people on every Division I team, so you just let down 124 people plus the coaches, staff, all that other, stuff. So when you go out there and knock somebody out or get knocked out, I've never been knocked out, but I feel like if you fight long enough, that's something that could happen. That's all on me. Yeah, sure, I share those victories and losses with my family and coaches, but it was me who went out there and, put my fist to that guy's face or, vice versa. So, it's cool. You can celebrate wins and losses, but the actual wins and losses are all on your shoulders. And that's the way I prefer it.
It's really interesting. Now, one of the questions me and Chris thought of, what's scarier, the walk out to the octagon or being called into Nick Saban's office?
Man, the thing about Nick Saban's office is he's got this little controller that, man, as soon as you sit down, he picks up this little, it looks like kind of like a garage door controller, presses this button, you hear a click, and then you hear the door close behind you. Like, you hear the oh shit! I'm in a haunted house or something. Bad. Like the handcuffs are about to come out of the chair, and I'm gonna be stuck to this chair. And a lot of things run through your mind. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone a little bit. Yeah. He's like, "Do you know why you're here?" Click. I thought I knew, but now I'm not so sure. What are you talking about, Nick? What you got for me? And also whenever you go walk out to a fight, that's kind of like what you dream about. You're like, oh, this is what it's like. You kind of take it in, like it's exciting. Like, yeah, I prepared. I've done all this BS. Now I get to go out there and have fun, kind of thing. With Nick Saban, you get called in the office. Sometimes you're not really sure why. and then you hear the click. You don't know if he's going to tell you that somebody else is going to start in front of you, or you're switching positions, or if he's just there to ask you how your day is. Like, you know, I guess some guys knew more often than me because, you know, I really wasn't like getting in trouble a whole lot. So I was like, my thing was, if I went in Nick Saban's office, I must be doing all right. So you get called in Nick Saban's office, you sit down, he's like, hey, how you doing? He picks up the deal. I had never seen or heard it before. I was like, man, what the hell is this? You know, the back of my head has, I'm like, yeah, you know, coach, life is good, school's good, you know, blah, blah, blah. I really like playing football here. Click. He's like, well, this is why you're here. You're like, oh, okay, all right. But it's, to me, it's always been funny, like the psychiatric kind of stuff, like how many thoughts and the like different kinds of thoughts can go through your head in like a split second from the time that I heard that button to the time I turned around and heard and seen the door closing. Man, a million things must have ran through my mind. So, you know, it's I think it's a little more terrifying to go sit in the office and hear that door close behind you.
Fair enough. Now, what's a better feeling, like the winning the national championship or knocking somebody out in front of a sold out crowd?
Man, it's tough because, you know, that game was for the championship, last game of my college career, and technically, you know, I did knock him out, and you know, that was kind of the end of the game. So, you know, I'm gonna go at this stage of my career. I'm gonna have to go with the national championship because that was a sold out thing, and there was literally nothing else to watch on TV but that. Kind of like there is with football and that with fighting now. So, you know, I think if I was fighting for a belt under those same circumstances and won the belt via knockout or any kind of way, decision, I don't care. I think that would be the most exciting between the two.
Fair enough.
Now, what was the decision like when you made the decision to go from football to MMA? Like, what was that process like?
Man, to be honest with you, man, I really didn't choose MMA. MMA kind of chose me. You know, I really didn't know nothing about it. You know, I got done playing football. I got cut from everywhere I tried to play. I didn't make it in the NFL, so I come back and you know, I say worked the 9 to 5, but man, I was doing a lot. I was cleaning apartments. I was cleaning factories. I worked for Coca-Cola. You know, I did a lot of things. A lot of things culminated into the decision to do MMA, but I think that I was just like bored, frustrated. I was a competitor, and now I'm just, you know, working to live essentially. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that the only reason why I'm at this job is because I have to pay the rent for the place that I live, and water and utilities and clothes and stuff. I also had a child, so you know, I found myself, you know, just being upset all the time, and wanted to blow off some steam. So, man, I walked into a gym one day, started doing jiu-jitsu, you know, cool, was having fun with it. Moved to Birmingham, and you know, I wonder what the striking part of this is like. So I walked into a gym, and you know, it's definitely not the gym that I train at now. Definitely have a more competent coach than I had back then. And man, I walk into the gym, and the coach is like, hey, this is your first time. Do you have any experience? No. Can you fight? Me being, you know, a 24-year-old male, I was like, hell yeah, I can fight. You know, I grew up fighting, got in some street fights and whatnot. And just like every, you know, guy who comes into the gym now talking that I'm undefeated in street fights, you know, I can't do nothing but laugh at it because I said some similar shit back before I started training. And he was like, cool. Here's a pair of gloves. I don't even think I had a mouthpiece, no headgear, no nothing. He was like, here's a pair of gloves. Go get in the ring, and you're gonna spar him. All right. And then I look up, and it's Walt Harris, who wasn't in the UFC at the time, but still, man, he's 6'4", 260 pounds.
Yeah.
And needless to say, you know, I spent probably 4 minutes and 58 seconds of that round in the corner with my hands above my head, you know, trying not to get beat up. And, you know, Walt's a nice dude, man. You know, I wasn't like rude or anything. I was very polite. Like, I understood where I was at. Like, yeah, somebody in here could fuck me up. And it's probably that guy who I'm in here with. So, you know, I was just like super nice and humble, but, you know, in the back of my head, you know, I was like, yeah, I you know, I beat a lot of people up when I was growing up and whatnot. So, man, but then as soon as he did that, as soon as that round was over, man, I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. It's like, man, I don't know, you know, anything. And so it's going to be like a new learning experience for me. I'm gonna have to learn. I'm gonna have to train. I'm gonna have to like I found something to like dedicate myself to. And man, it just kind of took off, man. You know, and I've loved every minute of it.
That's awesome. It's really interesting. I would have just assumed that you trained MMA when you were younger as well, before you really tried to focus on football there.
Man, never threw a technical punch until I was 24, 25 years old.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, we really appreciate you coming on here, and we hope that your fight continues. But I mean, with this coronavirus scare, it's kind of hard to say.
Dana White saying fuck that coronavirus. So, like I said, Portland. Yeah. UFC Apex, Bouncy House, Walmart parking lot. It doesn't matter to me, man. I'm down to get in there and scrap. I'll travel, I'll fly, whatever. You know, if I catch the flu for 2 weeks, as long as it happens after the fight, then, you know. And that may be like a super naive outlook on the thing, but, you know, what can I do? You know, the UFC says we're fighting, so we're fighting. So fuck it, let's do it.
As a fan, we love that mentality.
And it'll be really good because there's nothing else to watch on.
It'd be a good time to showcase for sure. Now, where can the fans find you on social media and stuff?
Man, I'm only on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Eryk Anders, ERYKANDERS. Also, they came out with those talkie vids and the cameo. So if you need me to send you like a personalized message, happy birthday, congratulations, happy anniversary, or just shoot the shit, those talkie vids and cameo at Eryk Anders, get at me and let's chit chat.
That's awesome. Well,
thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, fellas. Anytime you guys need me, man, you got my number.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Have a good one, guys.
You too.
Thanks for watching that YouTube clip, which was taken from our full show, Big Game Talk with Brad and Chris. If you want to check out the show and give it a listen, you can find us wherever you find your podcasts.
And if you want to watch some more YouTube clips where we talk about all your favorite sports, click any of these boxes here or check the link in the description. Thanks and have a great day.